We tend to put sweeteners in two categories, sugar or artificial. We forget about things like stevia. It's all natural. In fact, it's what I'm holding right now. It's been around, it originated in South America. It's been in use for hundreds of years. Up until now, commercial production has almost all been in China. Right now, the folks from Splenda, you know, the yellow packet, have just introduced stevia commercially in the United States. Come on, let me take you where the food comes from. When I was a kid, I used to pick up side money working in the sugarcane fields of Georgia. Now, the only thing that made that job tolerable was at any point during the day, I could whip out my pocket knife, whittle off a piece of cane, pop it in my mouth, chew it, just help the day go by. Now, the ancient peoples of South America have been doing that with stevia for eons. Today, we're facing epidemic proportions, maybe pandemic proportions in the world, and especially in the United States, of diabetes and obesity. We're all looking for healthier, natural, better ways to eat. Stevia holds a lot of promise for the future. You know, Ricardo, is amazing. As recently as a year ago, to be seeing what we're looking at right now, we would have probably had to have been in China.
Yes, you're right.
Ricardo Reyes, you are with Heartland Food Group, owner and manufacturer of the Splenda line of sweeteners. Looking at this site, this is something we would not have seen in the United States. Maybe a backyard gardener would have a few plants or something like that, but on a commercial scale and a commercial scope, this crop has predominantly, for many, many years, come from China.
Exactly, that is true. China, there's other countries growing stevia, but predominantly China has been leading the way in the cultivation of stevia.
Now, is that because stevia as a sweetener is more in use or more accepted or more part of cultures and cuisines around the world? Or is it just because China said, hey, we'll grow a bunch of stevia?
I think they had good growing conditions and they figured out that this could be a good crop for them. Again, this plant is originary from Paraguay. So South America, there's portions of South America that are doing these efforts. But I think to do it in a massive way was the Chinese who
And you had to have some scale of industrialization to be able to do that. And
manage the cost and some things. So it was very important for the U.S. that when we bring it here, it makes financial sense as well, and it's good for the economy and good for, obviously, the health aspects of the plant that we will get ultimately the benefits.
Because like any other crop, you've got to have the right climate, you've got to have the right soil, you've got to have all of those right conditions to make Mother Nature cooperate.
Exactly, and the native plant doesn't taste that great. It's a little bit bitter, little bit, so it has some connotations, and there are people who tell us, why stevia? I tried stevia before, and it kind of tastes, I didn't like it. It's a little bitter, has these metallic notes. As the #1 brand recommended by doctors and dietitians, the Splenda brand, we want to make sure your experience is great. And whether you like Splenda Yellow, or Classic Splenda, or stevia, or monk fruit, whichever of the products we make, you need to be successful on your journey to reduce sugar. So we've worked for a long period of time, over 20 years, in doing cross-pollinations of the best tasting plants.
There are several different types of taste buds. Every human being has a particular palette of taste buds. That's why grapefruit tastes very sweet to some people and very bitter to some other people. That's why stevia, which I've tried many times, sometimes it's good and sometimes it's not, could have that kind of off taste. But you're telling me that Heartland has created a proprietary stevia that's not going to have that bitterness and it's not going to have any off taste.
Correct.
Prove it.
Cut a leaf.
Just pull one off.
Just pull one off the plant,
Pop
straight
it in
off
your
the
mouth.
plant, and then chew it almost like if it's bubble gum.
Okay.
Chew it for a couple seconds. Then you can spit it out if you want. He's not gonna eat it, but you're gonna see it is delicious. It's something that you could continue, enjoying throughout.
Okay, which is probably not the right thing to say, but that tastes just like sugar.
The sweet compounds of the plant are called steviol glycosides.
Okay.
It's a fancy name, but this is something that the plant has in high volumes. And within the steviol glycosides, they have steviosides and rebaudiosides. That's what makes the plant taste like sugar. Even though they're not sugars,
Okay.
your taste buds detect them as sweet.
Mine sure did.
Exactly. So through evolution of these plants and these crossbreeding programs, the bees have helped us select the best tasting plants. And by doing so, you will have a higher amount of rebaudiosides D and M that makes this plant just delicious overall.
And when you say the bees have helped you select that, how so?
Well, we selected them, but they helped us create, the cross-pollinations. The way we do this is we arrange plants in a cross with mother plant A and B and A and B in a cross section, and we let these plants next to an area where there's trees and flowers.
Sure.
The bees will do their job.
Right.
Then we bring those seeds and we put them on trays and we sow them. And then we start understanding which one is a little bit taller than the other and a little bit bushier than the other. But eventually, what's most important to us, which one tastes better?
Classic agricultural research.
Classic,
It's
exactly.
just the way every product has been. It's how we improve on Mother Nature without resorting to genetic modification.
Exactly,
or
we're
GMO.
not genetically modified. This comes basically through time and through the selection of the best plants. Absolutely.
So that's what Gregor Mendel started doing like a long time ago that they taught us about in school. It's just a completely natural process with a completely natural product. And again, I said in the opening to the show, we tend to think of sweeteners in two categories, sugar or artificial. There are many alternatives in between, the most promising of which at the moment is probably stevia.
Is the most popular. I will tell you that we have different, I want to call them flavors because
Sure.
it's about a preference of the flavor profile. You said different people have different.
Exactly.
And our product portfolio of Splenda, most people know us for the yellow packet, but we have yellow packets and green packets and now orange packets with monk fruit. So it depends on the application.
Which is another fascinating conversation, monk fruit. Maybe
Monk
we'll
fruit
have
is
that
another
one
show for
someday.
monk
Yeah,
fruit.
that's another show.
Yes.
But it's fascinating to me to see this turn as we've come through a society where people sometimes get mad at science because they're not always right the first time. They're kind of like, whoa, scientists told us wrong. No, that was the extent of the knowledge base at the time. When they learn more things, those things change. There are people who are looking for more natural, more whole ways. And the one thing everybody is looking to do with less of in their diet is sugar.
Exactly. So that is a really good point that you're making. And I want to take just a quick second to celebrate sugar.
Yeah.
Because we all like sugar, and I love sugar.
If we didn't like sugar, we wouldn't like this.
Exactly. So because sugar is so great, it's a low cost, it works with every recipe. It's hard to find a recipe these days that says, and you add 3 packets of Splenda, it usually says a cup of sugar. So we have to make sure that we provide solutions to the customers and be able to use it as they use sugar, depending on the applications.
So this is a crop that if I was putting it in the ground, I'm going to be able to harvest off this same plant for 5 years?
For 5 years. Now, of course, depending on how good you are at your tractor, you may
Sure.
run some others. So there's a replanting process that you may want to replant, you know
Right.
what's missing. But it's a plant that you'll keep for many years and will be good for you as well. For
What
that
kind
period
of production do you get per acre? Because that's always, when farmers are going to grow a crop, they want to know What kind of production comes off an acre of stevia? How big a farm would you have to have some success as a stevia farmer?
How much production you get per acre, it depends on, how you keep your plants, but the way we would like to teach you is we can guarantee you with our process, you'll get at least 2 harvests per year, and we'll get 2,000 pounds per acre. So you'll get 4,000 pounds per acre per year as a guarantee. But the truth is, the plant continues branching out season after season and growing, so you'll get a really good bang for your buck. And then what is the right size of a farmer? It's not just about growing the plant, as I was mentioning earlier.
Right.
You want to be able to have a small extraction facility that we can bring to your facility. It will come in skids and you can mount on your farm. The ideal acreage will be somewhere between 500 to 1,000 acres.
Okay.
If you're a farmer within that range, you will be very successful.
Then you can get in the game with stevia, and you can get in the game with Heartland.
Exactly.
Because that's the whole point of this model. This is a commercial farm. It is a production farm. This is where the mother plants are coming from. This is where everything is happening. This is the ground zero. It's the point of origin for all of this.
This is ground zero for a fully integrated facility, correct.
But the next step and the process that's ongoing now is to search for small farm partners, not big corporate farms, not more Heartland farms, but actually small independent growers to partner up with Heartland Food Group to grow stevia on their farm.
That is our goal and our desire, absolutely. We're
That's
very proud,
incredible.
made in America
Again,
and grown by U.S. farmers. It's such an important piece of this project.
Why roll out the production model of almost licensing it out to small farmers?
Well, there's a corporate social responsibility we carry, and it's near and dear to our heart. So we want to make sure that everybody wins. There is no need to accumulate just the benefits to a company. We want to make sure that in order for this to be a new crop for the United States, it can be successful. We're on a journey to try to reduce the sugar intake of the country, hopefully by 25% by 2030.
Right.
If we can all join efforts into that, people will be healthier and feel better about themselves. So if we don't make a program that works for everyone, it's not going to be successful. It's not going to be led by a company and then being driven top down. So our governmental agencies, starts in schools, the education of it, I think it needs to be something that we can all stand behind. So it's important for us to have the same success as a company as we do as a country.
So you are going to be as successful as a U.S. stevia operation. You're going to be as successful as your farming partners are.
And as the consumer, when they get a great tasting product,
Well,
that they
yeah,
can
they
stick
win
to.
at the end.
Because if they were to say, yeah, I tried it, it's not for me, then we're in trouble. So this is, we believe, the best way of moving forward.
Now this, obviously we talk about diabetes, we talk about obesity. These are products like these are some of our best friends in those kind of battles, especially as we're all looking for more natural ways to approach things and more natural things to put in our bodies. But are there any benefits to this? Look, as far as I know, the only benefit to sugar is it tastes really, really good. We know there's a lot of detriment that comes along with sugar as well, or can if you go beyond moderation.
Right.
We don't want the sugar people coming after us, Ricardo.
No. I love sugar. I was the first thing I mentioned today.
But
in moderation.
This is all about options, and it's all about choices. Is there any nutritional component to this plant? Are there any health benefits to this plant?
Yeah, so not only it helps you reduce the spikes in blood glucose in your body, but there are properties of some of the steviosides that are on the plant that have anti-inflammatory benefits.
Really?
It's still being investigated, but in the South, if you were to go to the water need tribes, they will say they make tea on this when somebody gets certain diseases. So it's something that we continue doing some research.
So it's part of cultural medicine.
In the South, yes, it's been for many.
When we say the South here, we mean where we are now. When you say the South, you mean South America, the actual South.
The actual South America. Correct. Yes.
They have slightly different accents.
Yes,
than we do here. So there are some preliminary studies that actually show some anti-inflammatory benefit.
Correct. So as part of our journey is understanding all the benefits. So when you look at stevia, you say, okay, what else can I get from it? Then of course, there are over 30 sweet compounds, but there are many compounds in this that are still doing research on.
So what people need to understand is looking at this versus something like an aspartame, which never saw a field. This is the completely natural product. It may actually be good for you in addition to not just being bad for you. And you've created an economic model where small farms are going to share in your success.
Exactly, and that's why we're so proud and happy that you're here with us, looking at these fields and learn and teaching others what the benefits of the plant is and the benefit of the program that we're bringing to the United States.
It really doesn't get any more American than that,
Exactly.
So you can just see the flags waving in the background now.
Exactly.
So this program is about a year in. We just heard about it a few months ago. I'm sure it was kind of a quiet launch. Let's get on the ground. Let's see how this works. Let's see how it comes together. Are you working with any farming partners yet, or is that the process that's starting now?
It's the process that's starting now. Just yesterday, we had the first conversation with a local farmer here in Central Florida and explained what we had in mind. Listening to his concerns or his questions, I think is going to help us shape the best program we can bring.
Sure. Now, is this open to beginning farmers, new farmers? I'm sure that there's a set of standards. You're not just going to tell anybody who's got 1,000 acres of land, sure, go grow stevia for us.
Well, it's important for us that it's a family farm, that is small farming. We're not want to bring it to the masses, but we want to make sure that there is a connection with this, because it's just as important to us, as you can see on this, that it has to be a closed cycle and be a good stewards of our land. So we have to go through an interview process at some point to make sure that we have a good partner that we're about to handshake.
A good fit
for
all the way
program.
around, a good fit both ways, them for you and you for them. So we keep talking about Florida because that's where we are. We keep talking about the seasonality here. Are there other production areas of the United States that you've identified where this plant might be successful?
Yes, so there's research being done in Georgia, North and South Carolina. We know that the research is spreading. We had to kind of put a stake in the ground somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
And because we want to make sure that this makes financial sense, we don't want to be hauling dry leaf, for example. So we want to make sure that it all makes connection. So we need to start spreading, and this is ground zero.
Well, and with the weather, I mean, Florida is open for business for agriculture 12 months a year. So you can kind of pick your windows and go.
Exactly.
So I think what I'm driving at with the where can it grow, where might it grow, where might it be produced, the opportunity for small farmers. I promise you there are people watching us right now who have their phones out or who have a notepad out and they're going, all right, just quit already and tell me how I can sign up for this and get involved. What is the process? Is there a process to apply, to contact you guys? And
we are about to share that with everyone.
Okay.
Right now the process is being finalized, so whenever we want to make sure that we have announcements and wait for people to connect with us. Right now, in your show, we're going to put some information on how do you connect with us.
Right.
But as we establish this program, will be something that will become more of a reality.
But basically, it's going to be an opportunity for any ongoing family farm operation with 500 to 1,000 acres in areas where this crop will flourish.
Correct.
They're going to have an opportunity to partner with Heartland.
Correct.
Remarkable.
Correct.
Absolutely remarkable. I think maybe the most remarkable thing about all of this is anybody who's already farming, if you're a small U.S. farmer, somebody who wants to be a small U.S. farmer, if you've got 500 to 1,000 acres of land, you're going to have an opportunity to work with Splenda and try your hand at growing stevia. You're going to need an extraction facility on your farm. They will provide equipment to scale to fit your farm. It's all part of the process. Sounds pretty darn American to me. The building behind me is a really important part of the process. This is the extraction facility. This is where all of those leaves you saw in the field are going to go to be processed. They're going to take the sweet part out that's going to go in your teas and cookies. You saw all the leaves in the field. This is the dried, chopped leaf. That's what's going to provide the stevia. There's a process it goes through. The next step of that process, they make a tea, and that's exactly what it sounds like, a tea, a stevia leaf tea. From here, this liquid is going to be condensed down to a state where it's almost a gelatin. You can see like a maple syrup. Wow, that is sweet. All right, from here, this material is going to be reliquefied. They're gonna add water to reconstitute, and now it looks more like a very thin honey. From here, this will be condensed even further back into the final product, which will be again in almost that jelly-like state. Then it will be on its way to you, or to be turned into powder or whatever you need. What's left over is what's gonna make a whole lot of cows happy. This is the remaining bioorganic matter after the extraction process. This is gonna be turned into feed for animals or plowed back into the ground to make the soil even richer. So this is the mother field. This is where really all of the clippings that are gonna make all of the stevia plants in the Splenda family are gonna come from. So the plants in this field are the result of a lot of trial. We've already talked that this farm has been in operation in Florida for about a year, but it didn't start here. Tell me the research history that led you to this point where you were able to come to Central Florida and establish this farm in a year's time.
Okay, over the last 20 years, we've been doing crossbreedings of these plants. Make sure that the taller plant and the bushier plant will get combined with the plant with a better flavor profile.
Right.
So over the last 20 years, we've landed to a couple hundred plants that we really like.
And where was that research done?
A lot of the research was done by Heartland in South America, and now we're bringing to the United States our top horses, the best of the line.
So 20 years of research and development in Brazil led to the preferred Splenda varieties.
Correct.
Is there further winnowing out that's done here? Are you cutting it down even further?
So the research and development program continues. We already have the first crossings happening here in Central Florida, but it will continue evolving. What we want to make sure is people can really taste the difference between sugar or stevia. So
Right.
we're very close right now, and we continue closing that gap.
And
So
that
these
is
plants are
simply
the best.
through traditional breeding and crossbreeding. It has nothing to do with genetic modification.
No genetics, it's just
This is
getting
just
the
the
good
old-fashioned way, trying to use two parents to make the best possible offspring and to make it better generation by generation by generation.
Exactly. And by the way, all of the plants behind us
Yeah.
is the same plant. They all came from the one mother that we continue taking clippings from, and those clippings is the exact same genetics. We'll create more and more.
And now you're propagating all the other plants. All stevia in the world under the Splenda brand is going to begin its life for now right here.
Right here, you're
So
seeing it right
just
now.
little clippings come off here? I just
Yes.
pick off a little
You
piece?
can take a little piece, and any of those will have obviously the same genetic information
Okay.
as the rest of the plant.
Right?
So what we do is we bring that plant to our propagation area, which I'm gonna take you to.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Here we go. So you're going home, little guy.
He's going
That's
to his
so
new
cute.
home.
Those are just, it's really a beautiful plant too. All right, Ricardo, so our cuttings from the mother plants have made their long and arduous journey all the way from right there to the next step. This is the propagation station. This is where these are going to be turned into transplants that are then going into the greenhouses. That's what's going to become the plants that then go into the field for commercial production.
Correct.
Okay, so what's the secret sauce How do I do this? The first step is they're soaked for a few minutes.
Well, before you do that, the first thing our workers do is they come in the morning before the sun is out. So they come from our fields and they get our mother plants. They get little cuts of those. They give them a little haircut, let's put it that way.
Just like these.
Just like
what
that.
We're holding.
And what the workers do is they remove the bottom leaves from the main stalk.
So these have already been stripped.
Those on your right have been stripped, and that exposes the nodes. So in the bath to your right-hand side, that's a hormone bath. That is a growth hormone that would promote the rooting process. You let them soak for a period of time, and then you get them out of the soaking solution. And what you do is something as fast and simple as this.
And when we say the nodes, that's actually the little bump.
The little bump
on the stem
underneath.
that is where the leaves were attached.
Correct.
That's really the sweet spot.
That's the sweet spot.
of this plant.
So when it hits the substrate, our soil and the strays, it will, with time, is going to start creating roots.
Now, I am nowhere near the speed
But you gotta go
of
faster.
other people. I think I'd already be fired by now, or might not be hired in the first place. But do you have any idea how many this crew can produce in a day?
The current crew can do 116,000 of these per day in an 8-hour shift. In order for America to have plants that we can bring to them, the Splenda Stevia plant is gonna be in the millions. So we need to scale this up, and that's a little bit of the limited factor right now.
Yeah.
If somebody in your audience says, when can I start? Well, we need to continue growing the facilities behind me to make sure that we can make enough seedlings for everyone to put in their fields.
At some point, they're going to be able to get in touch with Splenda, to get in touch with Heartland, and find out about opportunities to grow this crop themselves.
Exactly. So we collect all the trays in carts, and then we move them so far away.
Another long, arduous journey.
Long, arduous journey.
Let's take
Maybe
that
20
journey.
steps.
Okay. My tray packing speed was suboptimal. Obviously, I did not finish this whole tray of clippings. We picked one up. Now we're going to pick up the journey and show you where it goes from here. Let's go, Ricardo.
Let's go.
Woo! This thing drives like my first car.
Takes a little practice.
All right, our little clippings have gone from the mother field to the propagation station where I put them in all the trays. This is their next stop. This is the greenhouse. They'll be in here for about a week, just long enough to take root. From there, they'll move to a nursery where they'll be indoors for about another 4 weeks. From there, they'll go straight into the field and they'll become the stevia that's coming to you. After all that hard work, the proof is literally in the pudding, or in this case, the lemonade. It's wonderful to come out and see stories like this. It's important to understand there are people everywhere working to make the world better. We often think most of those people are smaller players. We don't often think on a grand corporate scale that someone like Heartland would be involved in something like this. So now it's time for me to ditch the little sissy cup. I got a little traveler here. I'm gonna fill up one for the road. I'm gonna make it an Arnold Palmer. I'm gonna put on my hat. And I'm gonna head on out here where the food comes from.